Welcome to this metal element practice. I'm going to talk through in more detail what the element is all about, the organ systems involved are the lung and the large intestine. But we're going to begin with some yin. So let's get ourselves into a comfortable asana and then we can discuss a little bit more what we're going to do. So begin with Bananasana, lying on your back. Arms outstretched overhead if they do that. Take the legs and the torso over to the left side, so the whole back of the body is resting on the ground, and you're in this half moon shape. If you want to increase the stretch, you could take your right foot on top of the left, and you could perhaps grasp your right wrist. See if you can get into the longest side stretch available to that right side, but without any discomfort in the lower back in particular. And then once you feel happy with the shape that you've chosen, you could close the eyes and begin to connect with the breath. So beginning by observing whether you can breathe through your nostrils, or if there's any restriction, which means you have to breathe through the mouth today. If you can breathe through the nostrils, see if you can observe which nostril is more open, the right or the left. And it's in the corner of the nostrils that the large intestine meridian ends. And the energetic quality of the large intestine system can be observed through the exhalation. Because it's the large intestine's job primarily to let go of that which is not needed. So we understand this physiologically through the discarding of food matter and waste. Energetically, the large intestine is tied to the system of the lung. They work as a yin-yang pair, with the large intestine being yang and the lung being yin. The intake of the inhalation corresponds to the functional quality of the lung, which is responsible in Chinese medicine for receiving air qi, known as wei qi. And the lung then spreads this qi, this protective qi, around the body, both internally and externally, as a protective layer that corresponds to the skin. Sometimes we refer to the skin as the third lung. So the lungs, the yin organ system, draw in qi from the external environment inside the body. And the large intestines descend the qi, descend the waste product, and support the body systems in letting go and discarding that which is no longer needed. The physical aspect of the large intestine runs along the sides of the body, beginning on the right side where the large intestine ascends. So it moves up from just medial to the right hip, up the side of the waist, which you're now feeling stretching open. So while we hold for the last few breaths here, breathe deeply into that right side of your waist and connect mentally with the physical pathway of the large intestine. See if you can allow the body to relax in this yin hold, supporting the digestive system through relaxation, through letting go. One thing that you may observe in yourself is that when you're holding tight onto life, to a concept, to stress, the digestive system is impacted. And that can happen in lots of different ways, but for some people it can lead to constipation, a holding on of matter, the inability to discard and let go. So taking a final breath here into that right side, practicing a full exhalation, and then come to center. Take your time to transition, even though it's perhaps not too intense. Actually, for me, it feels really intense, that stretch, opening into the side. So adjust yourself back to center with ease. And then take your time to come over to the other side, legs and torso over to the right. Again, if you want to intensify the stretch, you can, or you can keep it more easeful. We haven't warmed up the body. So go to the depth that feels most appropriate for you. And then soften into the shape, seeing if you can allow the muscles to relax. Surrendering is part of that process of letting go. These two organs are part of the metal element, which corresponds to the season of autumn, or in American English, we call this fall, which describes the movement of the chi of the metal element downwards. It's at this time of year that we are called to let go of the abundance of the summer months. If you remember from our fire element practices, it's during the summer that we see the fruits or the full bloom of our life and labors. And after the earth element period of late summer, those fruits begin to fall from their branches, descending down into the earth, where they will disintegrate and be swallowed up by the earth to nourish the soils during the winter period. If we don't allow the fruits to fall and the energy to wane, then we won't receive the nourishment of the winter period in order to once again begin regrowth in spring. And so it's essential to honor the natural ebb and flow of the seasons. So if you're practicing this during the autumn period, perhaps consider as you hold in this pose what you could discard, what space could be created so that you can sink towards stillness in the winter months. You don't want to be carrying around excess load. With whom do you want to spend the winter? In what kind of environment would you like your cave, your home to be? Do you want it to be full of clutter and dust? Or would you like some clarity, a clean space within which to cocoon yourself? In the Western world, we begin new projects in the autumn period. It's when school starts, and so we have this quite different association with this time of year. It feels like we're being reborn at a time when actually we should be going towards rest. So there's a lot of confusion in the body's energy system at this time. Perhaps you could dedicate yourself to letting go of just one thing, even if it's as simple as your next exhalation, or as big as a relationship, a job, an item that really just does not serve you. Ask yourself the question, what needs to be released? While you breathe into that left side of your torso, where the descending aspect of the large intestine is, the very end of the digestive tract is here on the left side. So support its movement with your breath, with your intention. That downwards movement of the chi, waste products discarded. If the mind is racing, come back to the breath for a last 10 exhalations here in the hold. And then when you finish, you can come back again, take it slow to return the spine to a neutral position. Taking the soles of the feet to the ground, gently lift the hips so that the spine can flatten and recover from those side stretches. And then we'll do wind release. So bringing the knees into the chest, drawing the knees in a little bit closer as you exhale. And as you inhale, allow the knees to move away so that the belly can spread and fill. So practicing deep abdominal breathing here. We exhale fully to squeeze the knees in towards the chest. And we inhale to allow the belly to fill. Exhale fully, squeeze the knees in tight. So perhaps fairly obvious, one thing that can show up in these autumn months at the metal time of year are respiratory problems. Those of you who might have respiratory issues such as asthma tend to worsen at this time of year. There's a lot of spores in the autumn and pollens, things moving around in the air that can cause an allergic reaction. And also there's a lot of damp in the autumn, certainly in the UK at least. So that can also cause respiratory issues. And that change in the climate, the winds that arrive in the autumn, the movement between hot and cold weather systems can also cause a lot of respiratory chaos. So it's a really good idea to keep the lungs healthy at this time of year. Okay, last exhalation. Let's come into a twist for a moment, taking the arms out wide. Take the knees over to the left. Again, working into that right side of the large intestine. You can use any variation of this twist that you like. I'm going to grasp that right knee and turn the head to the right side. Stretch the thumb of the right hand and the second finger in particular as far away from you as they go. Take a breath in and press down through your right shoulder blade, drawing it towards the ground. And as you exhale, see if you can bring that right knee down a little bit closer towards the ground. So a deep twist around the diaphragm area. Breathing in, stretch the arm away from you, press the right shoulder blade down. Exhale to bring the right knee a little bit closer towards the floor. And just one more breath in the twist. Squeezing into all of the digestive organs here. And then with your next inhalation, roll the head. Exhale to bring the knees back to center. Squeeze yourself back into a little ball to bring the spine back into alignment, and then come over to the other side. Rotating the head to the left. Again, stretch the thumb and the second finger away from you. So these are the two fingers that correspond to the meridian pathways of the lung and the large intestine. We'll do some dough in a moment to check where the pathways are. So we're breathing in to press the left shoulder blade down now. Exhaling to bring the left knee down a little bit closer, deepening the twist with a little bit of activity. And again, breathe in, draw that left arm a little bit further away, pressing the shoulder blade down. Exhale the knees closer towards the right side of the floor. One more deep breath here. And then coming back to center. Again, squeeze yourself into a little ball, perhaps rocking from side to side. And then take the soles of the feet down. We'll do one more stretch on our backs before we come into a little bit more movement. Bring the heels close towards your hands, and then actively press your feet into the ground so that you can inhale and lift the hips up towards the ceiling. Then interlace your hands, bringing both hands into fists together, and roll onto the exterior aspect of the upper arms so that you can use your arms as a lever to lift your pelvis higher, and then draw the knees away from you as if you were lengthening the front of your thighs. Then see maybe if you can rock from side to side to again lengthen the sides of your waist and ease into the large intestine. Taking deep breaths, this can help to move any stagnation around the physical aspect of the large intestine and the digestive organs as a whole. And then perhaps you could rock from side to side, noticing if there's any sensation or a feeling of it being full or stuck in any aspect of the abdomen. And then reach the pubic bone up a little bit higher. Take another deep breath in. Exhaling to slowly descend the spine back down to earth. When the lower back touches the ground, bring the knees into the chest and rock yourself up, maybe rocking a few times along the length of the spine to come to sit in any position really that feels comfortable or relatively comfortable. Okay, then a seated cat-cow to warm up the spine. Let's take a breath in and broaden the chest, looking up with the chin, with the gaze. Exhaling to round the back, looking towards the heart or the navel. Inhaling fully to open the front of the body. Exhaling completely, rounding the back. One more time, inhale to open. Exhale to round. And then bring the arms into the equation. Reach them up. Take a breath in. And then as you exhale, round the back. Give yourself a hug. Embrace the body. Inhale, open the front of the body. Arms stretching out wide. Exhale to round and protect the body. Now inhale to open the arms out wide. Turn the palms to face up and stretch the thumbs away from you. At the same time, try to elongate your second fingers. So here again, we're focusing on a meridian stretch along the lung and the large intestine channels. So you're pulling the second fingers and the thumbs away from you while broadening the chest. 3 deep breaths into that upper aspect of the lungs. Feel your collarbones rise as you breathe in. Again, take some time to exhale fully. Every time you exhale, letting go, making space for the rising of another inhalation, another drawing in of prana, of chi from the air inside the body. Great. Next exhalation, you can just allow the hands to drop down, and let's focus on the lung meridian to begin with. So we'll find lung 1. It's on both sides of the meridians. We can find lung 1 for some of us by protruding the shoulder forwards and finding this little dip underneath the shoulder. Some people don't have such a big dip there, but you will be able to press your thumbs or fingers into that area beneath the shoulder, beneath the collarbone, and find the pec muscle. And then if you dig around a little bit, you'll be able to find some more tender points. See if you can find some just around where this dip is and just underneath it where the muscle is. Here is lung 1 and lung 2, the first points on the lung channel. So you can press into those points with your fingers and take 3 deep breaths. These are really effective points for opening and releasing the chest. So if you do suffer from respiratory problems, these are really helpful, especially I find for my asthmatic condition where it's really hard to exhale fully. That's more the problem I find in my asthma, it's not that I can't breathe in, it's that I can't breathe out. So then I don't have enough space to receive the amount of air that I feel that my body needs. So use these points to help release. And also these points can help to move phlegm. So the lungs can quite often get full of phlegm and liquid. And these points are used traditionally to help move phlegm out of the lung system. Okay, then start to move into the arm. I've chosen the right arm. Wherever you're pressing into the point, start to move that arm in circles, and you'll feel the pec muscle underneath your fingers moving around, giving yourself a little massage as you move the arm. And of course, continue to breathe deeply. Let's work with the energy of the meridian system as well as the physical or more peripheral layers. Great, one more big rotation. Nice, or maybe another one for luck. And then start to tap. So using Do in along the lung meridian from this space underneath the collarbone. The lung meridian, because it's a yin organ system, it runs down the inside of the arm. If you remember, the yin channels run along the more protected interior aspect of the body. So then you can tap from that place down the top inside edge of the arm. So we're going in the direction towards the thumb. As you tap down that line, see if you can find any areas that feel tender. And you might want to spend a little bit more time there. Go as gently or as hard as feels appropriate for you. And see if you can imagine dispersing or moving the chi, lighting it up with your mind. So the metal element is associated with sometimes silver, but often white color. You could imagine a white line descending all the way down from the beginning of the meridian, which begins in the actual lungs and then comes to the surface of the skin, all the way down this line that you're now tapping down. Come to the side of the wrist, and then tap down the thumb. And when you get to the thumb, you could give it a little squeeze. Let's find the large intestine meridian on that same arm. So it jumps over to the second finger. This is where the large intestine meridian begins. And then you can tap down the second finger to this muscle between the thumb and the second finger. And actually, you might want to give this a little bit of a massage. Here is large intestine 4, which is one of the key points on the body that you'll probably already be familiar with. A great point for headaches. It's good for descending the chi. So remember that the quality of the movement of the metal element is downwards. It helps to support the descent of chi, and that's what this point does. So great for dispersing fullness in the head that might manifest as eye problems or toothache or headaches. And it usually feels a bit tender. This point is contraindicated in pregnancy for that very same reason, that it descends the chi. So it could descend the baby, which is not what you want unless you do. If you're in labor, then this can be a useful point, both for pain as well as getting the baby out. Okay, and then tap along the darker flesh of the arm. So the yang channels always follow that pathway on the exterior, the more the outside of the limbs. And you'll follow this line of this chunky muscle in the forearm, which often feels quite tender and is actually a really great place, again, to help release any fullness in the upper aspect of the body. Also great to press and squeeze into this area if you've got any RSI issues, wrist injuries. Okay, tapping along the upper aspect of the arm, come to the top of the shoulder where we tend to carry the weight of the world. Again, a nice point here, again, contraindicated in pregnancy because it really has a strong downward effect on the chi. So it can be very helpful for releasing fullness in the shoulders in particular. And then you can tap along the side of the neck and come to the side of the jaw. And the large intestine channel continues over the jaw and ends in the opposite nostril. So you can just press into the corner of the nostril, maybe do both at the same time. These points here at the end of the large intestine channel can help to open the nasal passages, so it can help to support the breath. Let's do the same on the other side. So we'll protrude the other shoulder forwards to find that indentation underneath the collarbone. And you can press around that whole hollow there, and also a little bit lower where the pec muscle will be evident underneath your fingers. Find a tender spot. You'll be able to find it, I think. I found a good place here. Again, it really helps to open and support movement of breath in the chest cavity. When you found a good place, you can start to move that arm in circles, or however you like, really. Feeling the muscle move around underneath the fingers and supporting a deep breath. One more big rotation. And then let's use the Do-In practice to tap the chest and then come down the top inside edge of the arm where the yin channel descends, the lung channel descends towards the thumb. Again, maybe finding some areas that feel interesting or sticky or full, and supporting the movement of the chi, of the metal element, by tapping down to the tip of the thumb. When you get to the thumb, you could give it a little squeeze. The channel ends right in the corner of the nail. And then it hops over to the second finger where the large intestine channel is, the yang aspect of this metal element pair. And then you might want to, again, squeeze into that. It probably feels quite tender because we use our thumbs so much, especially because, unfortunately, we're probably texting or scrolling too much. But we obviously use the thumbs for almost everything that we do with our hands. So it can feel quite tender, but again, this is a really strong point. So it can feel tender with that kind of energetic quality as well. And it's a really useful point for pain. It's often used in conjunction with liver 3. It's difficult to press into these by yourself, but if you could get a friend to press liver 3 in the foot as at the same time as large intestine 4, it can have immediate pain relieving effects. Okay, so tapping along the darker aspect of the flesh, the outside of the arm, from the second finger up towards the top of the shoulder, the large intestine channel ascends. It's got that nice quality of yin and yang, actually, the way that the large intestine meridian moves upwards, but the quality of the chi moves downwards, and the same, but the other way around for the lung channel. It moves down, whereas the receptivity of chi is actually moving more inwards. So then coming to the side of the neck, over the side of the face, and over to the opposite corner of the nostril. Again, maybe you want to give the nostrils a little massage here. Hopefully things are feeling a little bit more clear now. So let's again come into our lung stretch, turning the palms slightly up, stretching the thumbs and the second fingers away. Breathing deeply. See if you can feel the whole of the lung meridian that you were just stretching into. From the space just underneath the collarbones all the way to the tips of the thumbs. One more breath as you are. Look up. Another breath in. And then exhale. Let's take the hands down to the ground. Great. So just feel freedom of movement here into the spine. Let yourself warm up into the spine however feels good, but retaining that focus on the breath as much as you remember, and I shall remind you lots. Great. And then let's come into a more traditional cat-cow. So as you breathe in, let's drop the belly, relax it completely, so there's space for the digestive organs. Look up and see if you can press into your thumbs and second fingers to broaden the chest a little, getting into that lung meridian. Exhale to draw your tail between your legs, squeeze the abdominal muscles inwards and look towards the heart or the navel. And again, inhale, relax the belly, press into the thumbs, second fingers, look up. Exhale fully. Inhale to open. And now exhale to come into downward facing dog. Great. Feel free again just to move around however you like. Often when I go upside down, I find that my nostrils get blocked again, but actually they're feeling quite nice and open after that work that we've done into the meridians. So walk your feet up towards your hands and we'll come into our Maca-Ho stretch for the lung and large intestine meridian. So here you might want a belt if you have any shoulder restriction at all, or you can grasp the hands together. We're going to let the head be really heavy in the forward fold. This is the first one you've done, so feel free to bend the knees as much as you like. I've got my thumbs and my second fingers extended, and I'm pressing the tips of the thumbs together and the tips of the second fingers together. So just reminding myself where the beginning and the end of the lung and large intestine meridians are. And in this stretch, actually opening the whole of the meridian pathways that go along the length of the arms. So Maca-Ho stretches were developed by Masunaga, the man who brought shiatsu to the Western world. And you may remember that Masunaga extended the meridian branches. So he said that how can the meridians just run along either the legs or the arms? They must correspond to the whole body. They're part of a whole body system. So he extended the branches of the lung and large intestine meridians down the back of the legs that you're feeling stretching open here. So this expression of the body stretches and opens the whole pathway of both the lung and the large intestine. This is the best thing to do at this time of year. One more deep breath as you are. Now as you exhale, let the hands drop down and bend the knees a little bit more. And then as you inhale, you're going to bring the arms all the way up to the sky. Stay here as you exhale. And then fake a yawn as you take a breath in. Reach the hands up, reach the chest up, open the mouth. As you exhale, bend all the way back down and swing the arms up and overhead. Breathing in, reach the arms up towards the back of the head or towards the floor in front of you. As you exhale, again, you're going to bend the knees and swing the arms down. And then reach up into a yawning stretch. Inhale. Exhale, come all the way back down. We're going to do this 3 more times. Interlacing the fingers, taking a breath in, reach up and overhead. Exhale, come all the way back down. Come into your yawning stretch. Inhale. Exhale, come all the way back down. And this is what Masunaga said was the quality of movement of the lung and large intestine channels. So taking a deep breath and yawning. So receiving prana, receiving air, chi, and yawning. Yawning, that sighing breath, letting go, the process of grief or release. Great. Last one. Inhale. And then exhale to come all the way up, reaching up with the hands. Take a deep breath in, and now you're going to stay upright, and we're going to go for a little skiing practice. So as you exhale, just let the arms drop down and start to swing them back and forth, bending into the knees. You can be as vigorous with this or as light as feels appropriate for your shoulder joints in particular. So as you take your arms back, you're going to swing your palms out and turn the thumbs up like this, so that you stretch into the lung channel when your arms are behind you, and your large intestine channel when your arms are in front. So as you ski, invite prana, life force into the body with some deep breathing. You could imagine, especially if you're in a bit more of a stuffy environment or a more polluted environment, imagine that the air was that fresh, cool mountain air that you may or may not have experienced if you've been in a mountainscape. Draw in the fresh air through the nostrils if you can. Feel free to sigh the exhalation out, make some satisfied sounds. Yawn if that's coming up. Can be a bit of a sleepy time in the autumn. Again, because we're going against the natural rhythm of the seasons most of the time by starting new projects, going back to school, doing all kinds of things when actually we could really do with a bit more rest, especially after the inevitable fiery activity of the summer months. Great. Okay, so we're going to come down to the bottom of the mountain now. So just allowing that swing to subside. And then just take a moment to close the eyes with the arms resting by the side of the body. And observe the breath now that you're standing, now that you've worked a little bit more into the meridians. How do the arms feel? Can you perhaps feel a tingling along the channels? Great. Okay, we're going to just do a little flow before we then come back into a yin practice. So come to the front of your mat. Feet, however, is most comfortable for you. And then let's extend the index fingers and the thumbs downwards, so you're really making a lot of space in the chest for the breath. Receiving the next inhalation, let the arms float up towards the sky. And then exhale to descend. We're going to interlace the fingers behind the back. Inhale to reach the fists up and overhead. And then as you exhale, let the hands descend down to the ground. Step back into a plank with the fingers spread, and in particular the thumbs and the second fingers active. With your next exhalation, drop down, knees and chest. And with your inhalation, receive the air as you rise up, drawing the shoulder blades together. Exhale into downward facing dog. Then allow your body to make like a mountain. So the heels don't have to be pushing down, but the hips are rising away from that solid connection you have between your hands and the earth. So at the same time, try to roll the inner elbows, the eyes of the elbows forwards to again broaden the space around the front of the chest. Receive the air and let go of it fully. One more breath as you are. And then looking forward, stepping the feet to the top of the mat. Rise halfway with your inhalation. Then exhale fully into Uttanasana or forward fold. Pressing into the feet, we're going to inhale and reach the hands up to the sky. And then exhale to come all the way back down to earth, back into Uttanasana. Swing the arms behind the back of the body. Inhale, reach the fists up and overhead. As you exhale, take the hands down to earth and step back into a plank as you inhale. With the exhalation, come down, knees, chest, or through Chaturanga into Cobra or Up Dog, Urdhva Mukha Svanasana. And into Adho Mukha Svanasana, downward facing dog. 3 breaths. Activating the index finger where the large intestine channel begins. Activating the thumbs where the lung channel ends. Then looking forwards, perhaps a light hop or a step to the top of the mat. Inhale, halfway lift. Exhale, forward fold. Rising the hands up to the sky, we'll do one more Surya Namaskara A. Inhale. We're going to come straight back down into Uttanasana as we exhale. When we get there, swing the arms behind the back. Inhale, reach the fists up and overhead towards the floor in front of you. And then as you exhale, hands down either side of the feet, stepping or jumping back through your flow. Knees, chest, chaturanga down through the exhalation, broadening the chest with the inhalation, up dog, and coming into downward facing dog. Exhale. Right, last breath. With your exhalation now, you're going to drop down onto the knees and we're going to move down into a yin pose once again. So untucking the toes, come into heart melting pose by extending the arms forwards, forehead to the ground. So I invite you to move your arms into a position where you can get a little bit more out of this stretch into the lung channel. So you might want to take the arms out a bit wider, pressing the thumbs down into the ground. You may want to bend the elbows and bring the hands into prayer. You may want to have the palms rotating upwards, however feels most useful for you as either meridian stretch or as a stretch for the area around the shoulders and the chest. So whatever feels best. I'm going to have my arms out a bit wider. For me, that feels more like it's getting into the lung channel. Make sure that the hips are directly on top of the line of the knees so that you can rest in the pose as much as possible. And then connect once again with the breath. So the autumn months can bring up a sense of grief and sadness. Sadness is the emotion associated with the metal element. So the metal type can be a little bit more contracted, perhaps. Somebody who's more inward focused and can sometimes appear to be quite cold. But the metal character, if somebody has lots of metal in their elemental system, is somebody who really appreciates the quality of others or the value of others and the value and quality of the world around them. So while they may seem or appear to be quite cold, they do appreciate and value good connection with others. So this personality type, if you do have a lot of metal in your system, can really struggle at this time of year. It can be a really difficult time of year when the emotion of the season can get the better of us, with the waning of the summer's energy down towards the winter's watery stillness. Even if we're not grieving anything in particular, there is a sense of grief as we watch the leaves fall from the trees and we watch that high energy of the sunny summer months descend into something colder and darker. So perhaps just taking a moment to consider whether any of these characteristics or qualities resonate with you at the moment. And how you could support the natural movement of this time. So some advice for a metal type is to surround yourself with beauty.
Like a magpie is attracted to shiny objects, a metal person likes to be around beautiful things. Art doesn't have to necessarily have any kind of intrinsic economic value, but something more of beauty. Plenty of time as well for the metal person to look after themselves and allow for that introspection that is a more innate quality in a metal character. And to resist perfectionism. Perfectionism is a real strong quality of a very metal type. It can be difficult to please a very metal type person. They have very high standards. So perhaps being a little bit more forgiving of those around you if you are a perfectionist or somebody who requires the strong values of other people. And just recognizing that everybody is coming from a slightly different perspective. Everybody's coming with their own elemental filter. So cultivating compassion and starting to understand that everybody has a value, even if their values appear to be very different to yours. Let's release out of the pose for a moment, just coming into a child's pose, arms by the side of the body. Letting the shoulders relax and round into that protective position of child's pose. Feeling the skin and the back stretching around the back of the body. Supporting your defense mechanism that the lung energy is responsible for. Once you feel that you've had enough rest in the shoulders and really give yourself time, we're going to come into another stretch for the lung meridian. So you can walk yourself onto your belly. And I'm going to come to the left side first, but you choose which side resonates most with you. Extending the left arm out to the side. I'm going to put the palm down and then roll on to the left side of the body. So for some people, you may want to bring the arm up a bit higher to get more out of the stretch. And let's really try to focus on the meridian pathway here, from the chest to the thumb. If this is not feeling good or not possible for your shoulders, you can also sit up and do this against a wall. I really recommend this to any office workers or people who are on a computer a lot. It's a nice antidote to this kind of hunching forward that we do, opening up the chest. So you can do it seated, but it can be a little bit more relaxed, perhaps lying down. Once you're on the side, do what you like with your legs. I like to bend the top leg, so my right knee, and have the foot behind that left leg so that it acts almost like a bit of a hinge joint, enabling me to perhaps come a bit deeper into the twist or the stretch. It becomes a bit of a twist, actually, as I hold. So, as always, make sure you come into something sustainable. We're going to be here for a couple of minutes. And we're going to visualize the meridian as we rest. So we call this lighting up the channel. And we really get the benefit of this Meridian Yoga practice when we bring the mind into it. And that's what yoga is all about. So let's connect with the lung on the left side, if that's the side you've gone to. And then the energy of the lung descends down the arm, so it comes to the surface of the skin at the first point that we pressed into earlier, lung 1, in the hollow underneath the collarbone. So you could light up that little hollow as if it was a pool of white light. And then down the arm, the inside top edge of the arm to the elbow, down the forearm into the wrist. Lovely point for the lung channel there at the wrist crease that can support the functionality of the whole of the meridian pathway and can support in particular the movement of yin in the body. And then down to the tip of the thumb.
See if you can retain focus on that pathway, on the physical sensation of the stretch, while also maintaining awareness on the breath. And of course, don't forget that when you're in this state of meditative awareness, there's still going to be thoughts flooding in. There's still going to be plenty of environmental factors calling your attention. And we don't need to try to shut anything out. Allow that sensory experience to be part of your conscious awareness. There's really nothing you can do to block it out anyway, so just allow whatever is to be. With each recognition that the mind has wandered into a story, simply coming back to observation of the breath and the sensation of the stretch. Okay, so last full breath in this shape. And of course, coming out of it very carefully. Coming back onto your belly. You can bring that arm by the side of the body and perhaps turn the head to the other side. I'm going to spin myself around just so that I'm facing you, but you can stay as you are. So then when you're ready, you can extend the opposite arm out, the right side for me, palm is facing down, and then you can experiment. Our shoulders may or may not be aligned, so you might need to bring the arm up higher or lower, or you may need to sit up for this side. So see if there's restriction around the shoulder, find a way to make it more comfortable for yourself so that you can relax, you can respond to that quality of letting go in the body that Yin calls for. In the process of letting go, we make space for change. And change, of course, is inevitable, so there's really no need to resist. But we really just have to follow the natural tides of the body. You may have noticed if you've gone through a grieving process for somebody that has passed away, that you're not in control of the grief. It's not like you can just sit down for a week and cry it out and then be better. Grief is not a linear process. The movement of chi doesn't move in a line, it moves in circles. So you might find yourself 10 years down the line, triggered by some event or some random image or person or whatever, and then the grief just comes flooding back in unexpectedly. And like all of our practice of this life, the practice in that moment is to be present with what is, present with the true felt sense of that grief, that loss, and in the true mindful acknowledgement of what you're feeling, you make space for it to move. So if there's an element of grief rising in this practice today, and it feels safe for you to be with it, see how it's moving through your body. What's the somatic response to that process of acknowledging, processing, and letting go?
And if that doesn't feel safe for you, can you witness the breath? Can you come back to the depth of the breath? Are we able to hold both loss and life at the same time in two hands? Sadness and joy, life and death, all at the same time. So, coming back to the breath of the mind has wandered down a rabbit hole of thought. Taking a final sighing breath on this side. And then allowing the body to revolve itself back into lying on the belly, bringing that arm to the side of the body, just giving yourself a rest, turn the head to the other side. And then I invite you to either sit or lie down. We'll either end here in Shavasana or end in a seated position, whatever you feel the body needs. Perhaps it needs some rest, mine does. And allowing this final pose that you've chosen for yourself to be the one that acts or serves as a rebound for those last lung meridian stretches. Taking some props perhaps to help support your body, whether you're seated or lying down. And let the arms rest or take them out wide if you're lying in Shavasana. It's in this interplay of the seeming dualities of life and death that our practice is possible and our practice is relevant. And our practice guides us towards something beyond those dualistic forces, that conundrum of life and death. How can we be in appreciation of this life, receiving wholeheartedly each breath, while also acknowledging that each exhalation may be our last. There is joy and there is suffering. And there is something beyond the concepts that the mind creates. And it's possible for us to be with that indescribable force, the Tao, perhaps you'd like to name it. We are that.
And so we'll spend these last minutes just being. And you may use the breath as your anchor, if you like. And you may open and expand into awareness without any particular focal point. Receptive to all that is through your senses. How is it to simply be? Return awareness to your being. Receive the next inhalation, a gift from the plant world. And return the favor with the fullness of your exhalation as an expression of deep gratitude for this life. And then start to move into the body, however feels appropriate. Yawn into a stretch. If you're lying down, then bring yourself slowly up, meeting in a seated position. And the hands in prayer, let's press the thumbs together and the second fingers, highlighting those lung and large intestine meridian pathways. Giving thanks for the wisdom of these practices from ancient China and India that have been passed down through generations for us to receive, for the body's innate wisdom, for your time and patience and dedication to the practice. And then finally to the earth for supporting us in everything that we do. Rising back with the hands in prayer, we'll bow the head and draw the practice to a close. And I truly hope that this practice has been supportive for your respiratory and digestive systems and the movement of qi. I trust that it has been. Thank you for coming.